Now we're on to the IT section or session. So it's pretty different in terms of what we've been talking about today. And if you attended yesterday, the flavor is pretty different. But I'll welcome on some friends. So for today, we've got Charlotte, who's on the chat. Charlotte, how you going?
Good. Hi, everyone.
And then we've still got Thais, who's here, who's the international advisor as well. So if you have any questions for international.
Hello, everyone.
And then I'll just welcome on quickly our grad, Natalia, who did the IT degree with us and majored in games programming. Natalia, are you there?
Hey, hello.
How you going?
Good, how are you?
Good. So we'll talk to Natalia in a second. So cheers, heaps. So the way we have IT is it's kind of broken down into two different avenues. So the first year is the same for both. It's your foundational programming and IT skills. When you finish the first year, you then decide if you want to major in mobile app development or games programming. So two pretty different sort of roads, but the application of coding in IT is kind of remains, consistent throughout the whole way, but it more is a matter of what you want to apply those IT skills in. So I'll give you exposure to both. It's the same in terms of the interactive media degree, where you can do the diploma, which is the first 8 subjects, or the associate degree, which is the first 16 subjects, or the whole degree, which is the whole 3 years, 24 subjects, I think. Same sort of flexibility. If you enroll into the degree and you finish the first 8 subjects, you can still stop there and graduate with a diploma, or you can enroll into the diploma first, finish that, graduate, and then continue on to year 2 and 3. It's just a matter of deciding whether you want to do mobile apps or games programming. So either way you slice it, we're still looking at 77% employment rate across everything at AIT. Got a lot of students working in the IT space because it is a pretty safe space in terms of jobs, job openings, how much you can make. The guys who did mobile app development don't necessarily work as mobile app designers as well. We've got, students who are working for TPG as like engineers, software engineers and stuff. Merck is a real good one. That's a more fun sort of design IT-based company. We've got a lot of students doing internships and working through there as well. And you've just spoken to Jack on games design, who is working for Red Cartel, and there's heaps of other games sort of based studios as well you can work at. So you've got a fair bit of flexibility and fair bit of option on what you want to do when you finish. So I'll talk about mobile app development first, and then when we'll finish that, we'll talk about games programming. Then I'll bring on Natalia, who is a games programming grad. So if you're into games programming and not into mobile app development, just bear with us a little bit. We'll expose you to this one first, and then we'll talk about games after. So I mentioned Merck before, which is like a design company who do apps, basically. They're like an agency. So I've had a student called Kayo who worked with them, did the internship with them as part of the degree, then ended up working for them. He did some pretty cool stuff with Merck, and then he then moved on to a company called Rapid Response Revival, where he made this app called First Aid Fast. So basically it's an emergency sort of patient app where if you find someone who's just collapsed or whatever, you whip out the app, you put in all their signs, and it sort of measures their vitals and everything, and all that information gets sent to the emergency team. So the ambulance knows a fair bit about the patient before they get there. So it actually has saved lives before. So it's pretty influential, and it's kind of funny to have an app or just something that's IT heavy or IT based that actually ends up being a lifesaver. But it shows you on the power of what apps can do these days, and sort of the way that we all sort of focus or sort of need apps, you know what I mean? But so we actually have the first sort of degree really that specializes in mobile app development specifically. A lot of other courses kind of just dip into it and dip out of it. We have like a whole focus on it, but it doesn't mean you can't do anything else. We've definitely got a lot of IT students that don't necessarily work as mobile app developers or anything. But you also, when we talk about mobile app development, it also means web as well. So you can do anything web-based, which is, and anything sort of cloud-based, which is pretty much everything IT. But why we wanted to focus on apps specifically, it's more because 91% of Australians use an app or have a smartphone. Australia actually uses apps more than the UK, US, China and India. So we're a pretty app-heavy country, which leads to such a strong opening in jobs. So really, it's a nice mechanism to be able to put you guys into a bit of a different area in IT in terms of what jobs you can go for, because you're doing mobile app-specific stuff, which is still very much a niche in Australia, even though Australia is one of the more sort of app sort of users in the world. So 46% increase in apps globally, so that's actually more Australia Pacific. Salaries are going up a lot, job openings are going up a lot, but even if it's not mobile app development specifically, IT jobs are going up heaps. So it's a really safe sort of space to be in. Like my brother-in-law is a senior app developer and he gets offered jobs like every month. Like he's making a fair bit of money, and all he did was a degree. He didn't do a postgrad or anything. He just chose the right sort of IT course, and now he can kind of do whatever. He can kind of apply for whatever IT job he wants. So it's a very nice sort of safe space to be in if you're worried about jobs and stuff like that, because there's always something you can do. The way we focus, it's more sort of for user-centric apps. So you're going to be making apps for iOS and Android, which is pretty multi-skilled in a way. Because the microservices are different for iOS and for Android, the way to look at it is you're basically making the same thing to look and feel and use exactly the same, but in two totally different ways. So it's quite a strong skill to build anything for iOS and for Android and crosses over in a streamlined way. It takes a lot more skill than you think, but it's something that we'll teach you because we have specialized subjects for iOS and for Android. So what that means is you become what's called a language agnostic programmer. So language agnostics is basically using a particular language because that language is the best language to use for that particular problem. It's not just using Python because you happen to like Python more or because you think you're better at Python than Java. It's using Python because that's the best one to use for building whatever it is that you want to build. So we'll focus on the top 5 languages: Java, Python, JavaScript, C++, C#. We will teach you PHP as well. That's more for cloud and more for web. So it's not as much of a mobile app development based language or web or like sort of website based language, but you'll definitely still use it because you will do some cloud computing stuff as well. But basically we teach you everything. So you can apply whatever language to whatever scenario. You're not going to be sort of stuck on the one particular language and try to sort of, stretch that as far as possible for a particular problem when it's not really the right sort of language to use. So you're pretty multi-skilled in that sense. So to give you a breakdown of the subjects, the first year is sort of the same for everyone in IT. And then when you get into the second year, that's when you start going down the iOS road, the Android road, and you start sort of building apps or sort of building whatever IT system for a particular problem or scenario. And then by the end, you have your final sort of piece, your final app or whatever it is, which you then present to an industry panel, which is called Advanced Studio. You also do an external project as well, which is making an app for a company as a subject. So you're getting exposed to companies a fair bit along the way. So it's pretty hands-on. So you can see by the names of these subjects, a lot of them does have a bit of theory, but a lot of it is pretty practical because we want to make sure you've got something tangible at the end. So the way Advanced Studio works is you're making your own app for basically whatever you want, whether it's like robotics, artificial intelligence, or IoT, which means Internet of Things. So it's like making an app that turns your TV on or turns your light on or whatever. So that's where it comes a bit more cloud computing as well. You can basically make an app for whatever. You then present that to the industry panel for marking. Then you move into external projects. So short-term project for a real client. You can get paid for that as well. You set up agreements and everything, and then you can go down again and do a 120-hour internship at an IT studio as well. So you're getting exposed to a fair bit through these 3 mechanisms. But even if you do games programming, you do this as well, just in a more games version as opposed to like a mobile app or cloud version. So with mobile apps specifically in those 3 mechanisms, we have an 85% hired employment rate, or from the internship specifically. It's more a reflection because there's just so many jobs out there, and because Australia is just such heavy users on apps. So there's just so much out there that you can apply for because it's still a bit of a niche area, but we just rely on apps so much in this country. So there's a fair bit out there and you can apply for, and we can help you with as well. We have students submit their apps and sort of other IIT-based projects as well at the IPICTA, InnoServe, iAwards. These are worldwide awards. I've had a student win an award at one of these every year since 2016, so it's pretty cool. So, you can attend these awards and submit whatever you've done for a bit of recognition. So you probably didn't think you'd be making something tangible that's sort of set up to hopefully receive an award in the IT world. So, IT can be pretty fun as well. It's not just sort of buried in code. You can make some pretty cool stuff and get some recognition for it as well. So that's mobile app development. So now I'm going to move on to games programming. You'll see that the rhetoric is kind of like there's some things that do cross over, but obviously it's pretty different as well because it is sort of two different worlds in terms of games and apps, but it can cross over. You can make an app game, you know what I mean? So you still need those fundamental sort of coding and IT skills. But with the games programming stuff, it's broken down into sort of three different sort of areas of focus. The first one is being able to use a pre-existing engine, so the Unreal game engine. If you attended the games design session, I showed that sizzle reel of all the games that are made through Unreal. So some pretty cool ones there, like some of the more popular games like Mortal Kombat and Mario Kart and stuff have been made from Unreal. And then we're moving on to Unreal 5 too as well, which just stretches the possibilities of what you can make in a game. So the first one is making stuff through a pre-existing engine and seeing what you can do through a pre-existing engine, which a lot of games do, like Mortal Kombat's been using Unreal forever. Then you go down into using Photoshop and Blender. So you're getting those visual skills as well. It's not like you're all stuck in code the whole degree. You're getting visualized aspects as well, which does open up more jobs too, because you do have those sort of graphic skills too. But then the third element is making your own game from scratch or making your own game engine. So it's not just sort of using Unreal forever, but making your own one from nothing. So that kind of does open up a bit more in terms of salary. So it is one thing in terms of being able to use a pre-existing engine. 70 or 90K is pretty good though. It's pretty fun. Like as a pretty decent salary if you're just making games through a pre-existing engine. But if you can make your own custom engine, you're on a pretty good wicket financially. It is necessary sometimes. Like if you look at Call of Duty, so Sledgehammer games, they couldn't really make Call of Duty from the Unreal game engine. It just couldn't stretch far enough. So they had to make their own customized engine for Call of Duty for able to sort of be the game that it is. So there are moments where, especially if you want to make a game that has more legs or more monumental or more sort of popular, sometimes you do have to be able to make an own customized engine for that particular game, which goes back in a conversation of sort of being a niche sort of area of focus as well. So we'll teach you how to code through something pre-existing, but we'll also teach you how to code in a customized way as well, which does make you very employable, and it does open up what sort of engineering or sort of software or programming jobs you can go for in the game space, without sacrificing the visualize aspect as well. So you'll be able to make whatever game really, because if you can make your own custom engine, you can kind of make whatever. So I mean, a lot of students will focus on first-person shooter or adventure games or platformer games, but you can make sport games. You'll be able to sort of make whatever. We focus on PC just because that's the more universal. But once you know how to make a PC game or a mobile app game, you'll be able to make a game on Xbox or PlayStation as well. It's just the application's a bit different. You just need access to Microsoft and stuff. But like once you can make one game in a particular way, you can make them other ways as well. So if you're wondering what sort of game can I make, well, the answer is really whatever you want. Once you have those fundamental skills behind you, you can kind of do whatever. So when you talk about those fundamentals, it's the same with what I was talking about with mobile apps, where you kind of have to get through the first year in a way, because you do need that intro to sort of software engineering and programming. But then when you get into the second year, that's when you start to code for games specifically. And then it's the same as mobile apps, where you start to specialize more and more as year 2 and year 3 progresses. And then you pitch your final game in Advanced Studio to an industry panel. So, students have gotten work from that really, really easily just by showing what sort of customized engine they can make already. It's pretty good to be able to pitch a game and say, I made this engine myself. as opposed to I'm stretching Unreal. Like both are fine, but you've got some pretty solid legs when you can say, yeah, I made this whole engine myself. It's a pretty good skill to have. Another way you can be recognized for this is what's called Games Day. So I spoke about it a bit in the games development or games design subject, but I'll play this video. So basically you get awards for best game engine, best AR VR game, best shoot 'em up game, best MMO game, best cosplay. You receive awards from industry. So it's just nice to be recognized for what you've done. I didn't play this video in games design because it was a little bit sort of stretched, but I'll play it here so you can sort of see. This is the last games day session we had on campus, which was pretty fun. Does that feel like playing today? There you go. It's a pretty fun day. Like it's good to play other students' games as opposed to just being buried in your own. It's really good to sort of do some networking with the games sort of industry as well. And it's also really cool having someone from the games industry playing your game. It's a bit like, oh wow, this is someone who I probably should be asking for a job and they're playing my game. So you can see where that leads to if you're sort of making something pretty solid. But in terms of networking as well, we do have what's called Games Masterminds, where it's like an industry panelist talk session. So it tells you everything you need to know in terms of working in the games, what to look out for, what to know, what you don't have to know, what it takes to sort of, you know, apply for a job or what should be in your portfolio, like all that sort of stuff. It basically answers every question that you have, but it's also just nice to be exposed to professionals in the games industry before you finish. Because it is about sort of who you know as well as what you know as well. So we do expose you and kind of push you in front of as many companies as possible, which is really cool. But either way, like whatever you do, you can't really escape meeting people in the games industry. So this is your advanced studio panelists or panelists from past sort of studio projects. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be presenting in front of these guys, but some pretty cool people that give you pretty solid feedback, and you know they mark you as well. So you know, the next thing you know, they might be hitting you up for a job or for even an interview or whatever. It's happened a lot and continues to happen. So you know, we give you a pretty good segue into what's up or what's next once you finish. So we do have scholarships. So if you're a domestic, that's the one on the left. If you're international, one on the right. Basically, you're given a brief, you tackle it the best way you can, and then the winner receives 50% off their first and last semester. So keep an eye out for that. With the February deadline's been already, but it's still open for May now if you're looking to start in May or later in the year. So if you're looking to apply, there's still definitely time to apply for February. So February 7th is when classes start. So still a fair bit of flexibility there in terms of get all your docs ready and everything. So you just pop through an application, we'll help you out with your docs and all that stuff, and then we'll sort you out with fee help if you're a domestic student and your visas and stuff if you need that sort of stuff as well. So if you're a domestic, just put through an application through that link there. You can also go on the website and just go apply in admissions, and there's the apply button there. If you're an international, just shoot an email at international@AIT, or you can just message Tice directly or whatever, and we'll help you out in either way. So that's my little emoji there. I'm Anthony, and I've also got Henry and Tice. There's more of us too. There's Donna and Charlotte. So you can text us whenever if you have any random questions or anything that we can help with. Just give us a buzz whenever. We're also happy to help with whenever you need it, and whatever sort of questions that you need or anything help with. So I'll bring on Natalia. Natalia, how you going there?
Hello.
Hello. So can you tell us a bit about yourself? Like when did you study at AIT and when did you graduate and what campus you were at?
Yeah, for sure. So I did my bachelor's of IT in games programming, and I graduated in May 2021. I studied at the Sydney campus, and now I'm a full-time junior programmer at Motorsport Games.
Awesome. So what are you up to now at Motorsport?
Yeah, at Motorsport Games, so I'm full-time junior programmer.
Awesome. So what made you decide to study IT and focus in games programming?
Yeah, so I was always interested in technology and games. I've always been playing games since I was very young. And then I was also curious about how games were created. And so I just felt that, yeah, games programming was the perfect path for me.
Awesome. So there's an assumption that you need to be like a whiz at maths and sort of like to pursue an IT degree. How good were you at maths before starting at AIT?
Yeah, so I was very bad at math, and I still am actually. I'm not very good at it. But I just knew the basics, if you know how to add things, subtract, divide, and multiply, that's enough. And there is actually a math subject at AIT, which is called discrete maths, which I was a bit scary before actually getting into it. But it actually just teaches you how to think more logical. So it's not as hard as it seems. Yeah.
Was the course material what you thought it would be? Were you sort of dreading it in terms of maths or thinking you were in for quite a rough one, or?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a quite rough one, but then, yeah, it's not as hard as it seems, to be honest.
Are you at all surprised at sort of what games that you're able to make from scratch, having the sort of programming knowledge?
Yeah, I was definitely very surprised. I never imagined that I could finish a game, So it's good to see your progress during studies, because you see, like, I know nothing at the beginning, and then at the end you finish a complete game, either if it's a first shooter or a shoot 'em up game or whatever. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Did you ever think about like what sort of games you'd be able to make, or did you think you'd be able to make games on such a high caliber that you're making now when you were studying?
No, definitely not. So it's just very surprising, because when I went in, I know nothing. And then at the end, I came up with, I don't know, maybe 7 or plus games. So it's pretty unbelievable. Yeah.
Like, was there like a technical subject that you were sort of dreading when you started that you're able to sort of end up mastering when you were at AIT?
Yeah. So I think for me, the first couple of these subjects, which is the programming subjects, C++ and maybe Java, I thought it was a bit hard for me. But then the way that I think I mastered it is just by spending quite some time doing my assignments. So I think it's very important that you don't just spend time when you're AIT, but also outside AIT. And another important thing is just ask for help if you're stuck, because sometimes people are afraid of asking for help, and that's not good. So just ask for help and spend some time doing it, Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like you should never be afraid to be like, hey, look, I don't know, or I need a bit of help on this. And it's like we were talking about before, how we can offer sort of one-on-one support. Like you never be afraid to sort of ask for that support. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but like you're working at Motorsport Games now. Can you tell us about that? Because you did your internship there, didn't you? And then you progressed into work.
Yeah, so not at Motorsport Games. I did another internship actually.
Okay.
But yeah, so I did it as a web developer, which is one of the things that you said, you can cross over as well, even though you're in games programming. You can do a bit of web development and things like that. But yeah, the internship was pretty good because I think the most advantageous thing is networking. So I met a couple of people there that contacted me after uni, when I finished uni, and asked me to join a project as a Unity developer, and which we are actually still working on that project. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. We're all pretty keen to hear about your career at Motorsport Games and sort of the path that you're on there. So what are you up to now there?
Yeah, so the game engine we use is Unreal Engine. So I do write a little bit of C++ code sometimes. another scripting languages as well, like Lua or Python sometimes. But so the studio that I'm in, we're working on Cardcraft, which is the name of the game is Cardcraft. It's a card simulator game. And so, yeah, every week, or I don't know, every sprint, we get sort of different tasks. So sometimes I'm in networking, sometimes I'm doing just bug fixes, sometimes I'm implementing new features with the senior developers. And then there's the best part, I think, which is every Friday afternoon we kind of play the game, everybody together, and this is the best part of the job, you know. So yeah, that's what I'm in right now.
Awesome. Do you have like any advice for sort of potential students who are looking to enroll in IT, especially women who are looking to pursue a career in IT? Is there any sort of words of wisdom?
Yeah, so I think for me, the first thing that's the most important is just pick the path that you're interested. So if you're interested in games, go for games for sure. If you're interested in mobile apps, just go for mobile apps. But like I said before, don't be afraid. AIT teaches you really from the beginning. So they assume that you're a beginner, and then until you're good enough to complete your project, you know. So spend some time doing your assignments. Always ask for help, because it's very, very satisfying to see what you come up at the end. And yeah, just you won't regret it. Just go for it. Yeah.
Awesome. So we've got a bit of a showcase. There's a fair few slides here. Are you right to sort of talk through them as I sort of slide through?
Yeah, for sure.
If anyone there's sort of wondering on what Natalia is up to or what she was doing, this gives you a pretty good sort of visualization of what she was up to.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, just like I said before, I've always been interested in technology. And then when I came to Sydney, I saw that AIT had what I wanted to. So I just went to games programming and got my bachelor's. And yeah, and then like that was one of the first kind of projects that I've done. So that's written in C++. And like I said before, I knew nothing. And then at the end, you come up with something cool, which is either a small application, or in that case, yeah, just a small application. But it's pretty cool to, you know, see your progress during your studies. Yeah, that's an example of one of my first assignments. That's a web development subject that I did actually. And pretty cool to see what I was, you know, it's very simple page. You just get like 5 pages, but it's just amazing. That's one of, I think on my first term, I completed that assignment. So you can see that's, wow, you come up with something at the end. So.
Was that from the intro to web subject?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. So you're basically making your own website from scratch in that subject? Is that basically like the crux of it?
Yeah, that's right. So you just pick whatever kind of website you want to do it and just do it.
How much was the coding sort of more heavier than you thought it was going to be with that, or was it actually all right?
No, it was actually all right. Yeah, so it's just HTML and CSS, and then when you look at it, it's a bit scary, but you see, it's not hard. Yeah.
Is this the same website?
Same thing. Yeah, just a bit of the code, which is just HTML actually, and then yeah, just see the result in the right hand side.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then just a bit about my student journey at AIT. I did participate on that game day that you showed us before. It was pretty cool. Yeah, I had a game there, which I saw many kids playing it, and made some videos as well. Unfortunately, I didn't receive any award, but it's okay. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And yeah, like I said, Sydney campus, it feels very, not just the Sydney, I've never been to Melbourne, but it's pretty cool and relaxing, and it's very good to be a part of it.
Awesome. So I think that's it. What I'll do is I'll bring Charlotte back on. Charlotte, are you there? How is the
Yeah, pretty good, pretty solid. We've got a couple of questions for you, Natalia. How are you going, Natalia?
Yeah, pretty good. Thank you.
Good. Fantastic. Thanks. So Wafa had a question. What has your experience been in the industry in terms of deadlines?
Ooh, deadlines. Yeah. So when that's in the job or in AIT? In the job. Yeah. Okay.
I'm assuming in the job. Yes.
In the job. Okay. No worries. So yeah, when I went in, they actually had this kind of 2 weeks deadline that I had to deliver some of the tasks. But since my team, there are a lot of junior programmers and junior designers, and they felt that everybody was a bit under pressure, they actually made it the length a bit bigger, so it's a month now. And they actually get you to do meetings with them and ask you if you're comfortable with the deadlines. So they just go task by task with you and say, can you do that in 1 week? Maybe I can, maybe 1 week and a half. So they just, so I'm pretty lucky that I got in the team like that. So just pretty flexible with the deadlines.
Yeah, and how long on average do you have to create a game? What's the average?
Yeah, so right now we're working on a current existing game. So we actually just need to deliver different types of tasks every month. So sometimes we just need to do a whole new UI in 1 month, we need to deliver that, or a whole new kind of sound in 1 month, we have to deliver that. So it's kind of like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And do you think there are a lot of opportunities here in Australia in your area?
If there is a lot of opportunities, sorry. Yeah, for sure. Just once I got in, I got maybe, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 invitations to other interviews. So it just, sometimes it might be, it seems that it's a bit hard to get into, but once you get one, you're just going to get many. So just be a patient, you know, and keep applying and keep learning, and you eventually get there.
So I'm assuming that networking is a big thing, a big factor in being.
For sure. That's one very important thing. Just get new contacts. That's very important for you. Yeah.
Okay, great. And Rabindra had a question about how many hours of time do you need to allocate to master IT after the classroom? So after finishing at AIT, how long sort of really did it take you to get a good grasp of IT?
Well, that I think really depends on the person, I guess. You know, for me, when I was in AIT, I did my, I don't know, 3-4 hours per class per subject. But then once I got home, I just wanted to spend some time doing my game because it was fun, you know. So I didn't see the time that I was spending too much. But it really depends on how you're capable of learning. If you're learning super fast, then maybe you don't need to spend so much time. But you're gonna enjoy, and you're not even gonna notice the time that you're spending, I believe. So it really depends on the person, I guess.
Yeah, great, thanks. Yeah. Is there anything that you would recommend to students who are preparing to study the bachelor degree with AIT? Any little hot tips?
Yeah, just don't, it's a bit scary, I think, sometimes. I don't know if you're, especially with the math side of things, but you see, just once you go in, you see that's possible to achieve, you know. So always ask for help from your teachers, your classmates, because don't be afraid. Yeah, it's just like the stuff that I said before. I think when you get, one of the things that I felt that I learned more is when I got stuck at some parts of the assignments, because that's when we really learn, oh my God, how do I do this? And you try to solve that problem. So yeah, just like before, spend some time and ask for help.
Just to add to that, so my brother-in-law is in IT, and he always says that confusion's just your brain sweating. It's just exercising. So it's like it's totally normal to be working through something, especially something so abstract as IT, and just have no idea at the start. That's like a full normal sort of process to go through, you know. So it's just a matter of just working through it and just sort of stopping once you feel comfortable with it. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah.
Great. I've got another question. When learning programming, what do you think was the hardest to learn for you?
In terms of the subjects?
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Maybe a language as well.
Maybe a language.
Like a double whammy sort of question too, I reckon.
Yeah. I think, yeah, the C++ maybe was a bit scary because like when I did the intro to web, which was just HTML and CSS, I think that was kind of, you know, you just change the color, then you see that's what's happening. And in C++, maybe you have to handle all these other stuff like memory and pointers and things like that. So, and then the math was scary, but then once you get in, it's all good. And AI, I think AI was a bit scary as well, but it's Python. And then you see like this completely new word because everybody's talking about AI and they don't know what it is. Once you get into AI and then you say, oh, okay, so you you know, putting commands in Python and you see this data, and I don't know, it's just, I think people get very scary just before starting something, and then once they're in, they see it's okay. No.
Yeah, so we have like 3 to 4 hours of in-class time, but how much did you spend outside of time?
Yeah, I think I spend like double, maybe 4 hours in each subject. So if I had 2 or 3 subjects in a week, I would spend, I don't know, 12 hours plus. So it's 24 hours maybe. Yeah, it just really depends on the subject, I guess. But it's just 4 to 5 hours sometimes a week per subject.
Great. And I'm not sure if you answered this. Did you do the 2 years or 3 year bachelor?
I did the 3 years.
3 years, okay.
3 years, yeah.
Okay, all right, beautiful. Any other questions? Don't be shy. That's all I've got from my end. Do you have anything else, Anthony?
I was going to ask you, Natalia, do you have like a favorite language, or especially when it comes to sort of using it for the application of games? Is there a particular language that you prefer, or one that you like more?
Well, I love C#. I like C#. I did most of my games were in Unity, which I used C#. C++ is just too many things that you need to do to accomplish one thing. And Python as well. Python is another thing that you're like, okay, it's just one line, you're doing maybe 10 lines of C++, which you can do in 1 line of Python. So I think, yeah, just my opinion, I guess.
Have you ever made like an engine from scratch, or a customized engine?
Yeah, I did. There's 2 subjects, which is the basic game engine programming, and then you go to the advanced game engine programming, which I've done a whole custom engine myself with the teacher, of course. But so I made a kind of like a platformer shooting up game. So it's just shooting monsters everywhere, and then you get to see a very cool visual, because in C++ you actually have to do a kind of a game, but it's just on the command line. So you're just seeing lines and text. You're not actually seeing any visual stuff. But once you get into basic game engine programming, which you do your own custom engine programming, you get to see all of this sort of stuff, you know, so you see bullets and you see the characters, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Was it C++ you were using with that?
Yeah, C++, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's all I was wondering.
Yeah.
But I don't have any more questions, I don't think. Did you have any sort of games that you could show us, maybe?
Oh yeah, I can absolutely show you guys. There is a VR game that I've done with another classmate of mine. And how can I show you guys that?
If you want, like, I'm not too sure. This was kind of more ad lib because we're sort of
okay.
We've got a little bit of time. We can wrap it up if you want. But if you've got like a website or anything, do you have anything like that?
I have a video that I can send you a link.
Is that okay? You can put it in the chat, maybe.
Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely. Cool.
Yeah.
Just 1 second, guys. So this is
share my screen.
This is a VR game that we made, and that was one of my last subjects at AIT, which you have to make a game of whatever you want, what type of game you want. And we decided to go with VR. It was our first time doing it. And so it's pretty cool. We actually got an award for that game as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, which is
where did you get the award from?
Yeah, we got the award. It's called I don't know how to say that. 1 second.
That's okay.
It's a bit complicated word. Just 1 second.
Okay, any last questions, guys, in the chat? You can ask.
I'll see if I can click on this, and I'll share my screen. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, AEAF. That's
Oh,
it. Thais, thank you. Yeah, we got a bronze award, so we got in third place.
I had always had acne as a teenager and has left me with acne scars, bumpy.
Welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. Today we're going to be talking about monitor formats and specifically what sort of format you should think about buying. Are you ready to step up into the world of 4K gaming, or is a more traditional 1440p or even 1080p display ideal for your setup? What about ultra-wide displays? How do they fit into the picture? So we're going to answer some of the major questions we often hear in this video for 2022. Primarily, we'll be looking at the monitor options you can get on the market today and how the pricing structures differ for each line. For example, generally, how much more expensive is it to go with a 4K monitor over 1440p, and what sacrifices are you making along the way? What sort of GPU performance hurdles are there to upgrading or choosing a higher resolution? We test so many monitors across each year, and somehow we've never really talked about this, so let's give it my best shot. I'm going to start here with a discussion on 1080p monitors, because whenever I review a 1080p display, I often see comments asking, why would you buy a 1080p monitor in this day and age? And I think there are two primary reasons why you might still consider a 1080p display. The first reason to go 1080p is simply that they are the most affordable monitor format. If you don't have a lot of cash to spend, 1080p might be your only.
I was just going to say, was there somewhere that I should skip forward in that to showcase?
That's not the video.
Oh, it's not the video.
Yeah, it's not the
I was
video.
thinking it was a bit weird, eh?
Yeah.
So
maybe that link's not working.
That's okay. What I can do, I can probably just share my screen and see if you can see it. Can you see that, guys?
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
The one? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was thinking, what was I playing?
Let me just put my phone. Give me a second. Okay.
So it's just, yeah, I can maybe talk through the game while we're playing. So if we mute the video, maybe.
Please put on the.
Yeah. So it's just a game where you can use your Quest or any of the headsets that you can play Steam or yeah, it's in the Steam. And so you're gonna spawn in this white room, and you're gonna have to hit things to make the room colorful. And so every time you hit something, so you just need to hit that watch. And every time you hit something, you're gonna start coloring that room, and you're gonna get some cool animations and sounds and so many things happening. So you'll see in a second. And then you have a sort of a time to finish that as well. And so, yeah, so you just get a bright room, and then you just start coloring. Like when you're in the headset, that looks super cool. You guys can try that as well if you have a headset at home. But yeah, so you're just basically shooting things, and the sound is pretty cool. It's a pity that you can't hear the sound, but then you got some animations and really bright colors as well.
I can play with the sound if you like.
For sure. Yeah.
Touchdown!
all right. That was really good.
Yeah, thank you.
So unless anyone else has any other questions, we'll wrap it up for today.
Actually, whilst I had one, he said he was wondering actually what VR is to the industry. Like, is it a hot new thing, or is it that's going to take over? Is it like a trend or a new thing, or?
Is that for me, the question? Sorry, it was
Yeah,
for me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, for sure. I think VR is definitely on the way there. Maybe 5 years ago, not many people were playing VR games, but now Even in my company, at Motorsport Games, we can actually use VR as well if you want to play KartCraft using VR. And definitely, I think it's just going to grow up from here for sure.
Great. Awesome. I think that's it from our end. Yeah.
Awesome. All good. Well, Natalia, thanks so much. Thanks,
No
Charlotte, as well. If you have any other questions or anything, you can always text us as well, but I'll leave it up to Donna to sort of wrap up the day.
Thank you, everybody, so much for attending today. It was a pleasure to have you. Looking forward to seeing you on campus this year. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.